Job Club. Delighted that you've joined us today. Fabulous speakers, great content. So we're very happy to have you join us today from all over the country. As you're logging in, please share with us where you're logging in from and what type of work you're looking for. Also, if you could toggle the chat box, the to icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees, so that we can see your excellent comments and any questions that you might have throughout today's presentation. Seeing lots of good feedback as people are logging in and joining us for this oh so important topic. Good morning, Willard, Krista. Glad you're here. Joan, good morning. Again, share where you're logging in from and what type of work you're looking for if you're a job seeker. Welcome to those that are just logging on. We're delighted that you've joined us for Job Club this morning. We will begin shortly. Fabulous program on deck today. Toggle the to icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure that we can see your comments and your questions as you're logging on. Welcome from E-Town, welcome from Harlan, welcome from Georgetown, welcome Tanya, Lexington. Good morning, everyone. Job Club's one of the highlights of our month, and it's awesome to see so many people join us from afar. We will begin shortly, but in the meantime, do share with us where you're logging in from and what type of position that you're seeking. Again, locate the chat box and toggle the to icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees, so that we can ensure that we see your questions that you may have for the speakers and also any comments as we move through today's program. Super program on deck this morning. Welcome, Brian. This is a topic we certainly try to rotate in every year or two. Lots of good tips that you'll receive today from our guest speakers. Good morning, Brian from Lynchburg. We will begin shortly. Do use that chat box for engagement throughout today's program. We love it when you give us feedback or when you share information or have questions. Use that chat box. Morning, Jeff from Louisville. Hey, Mark, good morning. All right, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Diane Doggett with Extension, and she will open us up.
Thanks, Caroline. And I'm Diane Doggett. I'm a facilitator of Job Club, as well as the Family Consumer Sciences Extension agent in Fayette County. And again, welcome. We're so glad you're here this morning. And we always like to review our schedule with you. We have our main speakers today, which you're just going to really enjoy. So informative. The topic is just great. We are also going to be sharing some active job leads at the conclusion of today's session. We've got partner updates, and we'll also be revealing our next time at Job Club. I want to remind you that this is Facebook Live. If you are joining us Facebook Live, it's view only. So there are no chat moderators or link sharing in that option. So please continue to register for the webinar to ensure that you receive our active job lead newsletter. That's really important that you do that. And that schedule is published throughout May, and registration is open. And this is the team for Job Club. Caroline Francis, you just heard from her, and she is the Director of Alumni Career Services. Amanda Shagney, She's on board today behind the scene, and she's the Associate Director of Alumni Career Services. Nicole Waite is not with us today, but she's with Employment Specialists, and she's the UK STEPS Temporary Employment. So we always like to reiterate our values and mission, as well as the vision, and that is to provide a positive environment for job seekers to network and learn best practices for the job search. We meet every second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and you can find the schedule of topics at the website on the screen, which is www.ukalumni.net/job club. And our current schedule is on that site. So we hope that you will check that out and see what the topics are in the future. We want to welcome our first-time timers. If this is your first time, we would love for you to tell us that in the chat box. We always like to bring notice of that, and everybody else can reach out to you in person, which we hope to continue and bring back to our program format in the fall. We always we do a great welcome to first timers, but we're glad you're here today, and you will receive a follow-up survey later today. And this feedback will place you in our notification system for future programs. So we want you to know that in the chat box today, we have a QR code, and we also have the website, the link for you to give us the feedback, register, and you're going to get later on today a newsletter which will have all of our job leads that will be shared today and those that we got in advance. So make sure that you do that. Scanning that QR code will make it very, very simple, and we'd like for you to do it now and just get that over. It's only 3 or 4 questions, and it gets you right into the system. And as you're part of our network, you're going to be able to utilize our free job resource packet. That's also on our website. And there's a list of resources that are on the screen. We've got articles, we've got informational interview tips, LinkedIn job search checklist, just an array of resources there, a complete packet. And we want to make that available to you just by visiting our website. So the site's there. Again, it's at alumni.net/job club. We also want to invite you to join the Central Kentucky Job Club sharing community on LinkedIn. That's a extra resource. It fills in the time, the interim between our sessions, which are bi-monthly. And when we get extra additional job leads, we post them there, and this also provides a great platform for networking. So by all means, join us on LinkedIn. Success stories. We normally have, I believe our last session we had at least 3. We normally have many to share. And we don't today. We don't have a formal success story. We have to get those vetted, permission to share them. So we're not ready to go with those that are in the tank right now. But we would invite you in the chat box to share any successes that you may have acquired since we've last met. Or if this is your first time, something that you would like to share. And success story doesn't mean that you necessarily landed the job or have your dream employment. It's anything that you have accomplished, anything that you have set as a goal and achieved. And it could be, finishing your resume, reaching out, increasing your network. It's a variety of job search strategies that you could fulfill. And we'd love for you to chime in right now if you would like to do that. Perhaps you have had an interview or have one coming up. So we would like to hear that as well. Sometimes when you tell us you have those interviews, and that gets us in link with you, and we can perhaps pursue that with you. So anyone out there would like to share in your success stories? And you can do that throughout. Paisa says she submitted a cover letter and resume for 2 new positions. That is truly a success. Tony had an interview at 11 this morning, or does have. Okay, so hopefully something that's going to be shared today is going to help you. So we'll be rooting you on, Tony, today in that interview. Fred has had 3 applications sent out in the last 10 days. And Sandra, you know, we do want to put that exclamation mark on yours. You just got a new job. So we're excited for you. Please get with us later and give us some details on that. Congratulations. Antoinette, or Amanda has a client from the group that had a 2nd round interview Friday. Way to go with that. So some of you are getting some good luck charms out there. Congratulations. Tammy Gross has earned a bachelor's degree in CLD and has finished 2 graduate certificates, working on another later this month. Wow. If you've been a job club participant, you know that fulfilling that time with adding some certification and in degrees or volunteer work, all of that really matters when you go to put that resume together and in that interview process. Great accomplishment, Tammy. Well, this is exactly the feedback we love to hear. And it not only encourages us as facilitators, but I hope that you as a participant to Job Club, and if you're in a job search, that you find this meaningful too. And we just want to thank everyone for sharing today, because it is an encouragement, and it does mean that when you follow some research-based strategies, and you follow the process and you do the homework, then the results, they'll come. They will come. So thanks to all. Thanks so much for sharing. And now I'll turn it over to Caroline, and she's going to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Diana. It is my privilege to introduce our 2 fabulous speakers today. They have been colleagues of mine for many years. We're conference buddies, and just have so much respect for each of these presenters, their knowledge. These are incredible presenters today to have with us for Job Club. First, I'd like to introduce Reba Carroll. Reba is the Assistant Director of the UK Stuckert Career Center. She has lots of impressive credentials. She's a global career development facilitator, a certified career services provider. She also is a certified True Colors trainer, certified in MBTI, strong interest inventory, many other assessments. But Reba is walking the walk and talking the talk today. She has reinvented herself several times in her career and has a fascinating story about her journey. Delighted to have Reba with us today. Also, coming back to assist us today is Diane Kohler. Diane has been with Job Club since the early days. She's a wonderful presenter on so many content areas, lots of credentials, so well-read. She is the most well-read career colleague that I have anywhere in the country. She constantly shares incredible resources. Even walking in this morning, she said, "I just read about a new resource, Caroline." Such respect for her skills as a counselor. And we are delighted to have both of these women present with us today. Diane is actually here in my office. I'm going to turn the screen off for one moment while we switch chairs, and she will be in the presentation seat coming to you today from my office. So we'll have one moment here, and then we'll dive into the presentation. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Reba Carroll, and of course, we've been introduced, and this is Diane Kohler. We are so excited about this topic. This is something that is near and dear to both our hearts. As you know, a large part of the population is over 65. We are the boomers, and I'm sorry for those of you who are just at 45 or 46, but you're in our bracket now as we go to talk about the success tips for job seekers 45 and over. So Diane and I have worked for several months on this, pulling together the most current information that we have in terms of the job search and the mindset that's required for you to do the job search if you're feeling maybe a little bit out of touch or too old or anything of that nature. We're here to alleviate those stressors for you and hopefully give you some information about what you need to do and what maybe you don't need to do. Okay, so let's just jump right in if we can go to the next slide. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, ageism. Next slide, please. So today we're going to discuss the beliefs and myths about job seekers age 45 and over and how age biases can affect an employer's hiring practices. We all have biases. So that is a given. So we want to know how that affects the thinking of an employer. Some age biases employers may possess. We're going to talk about, though, a list of those. We're going to give an update on what today's employers want most from the workforce, and then how to work around those biases and get hired. Success tips for the job search process as it relates to older applicants. So the next slide, please. So what is the definition of ageism? Diane, I'm going to pass this over to you.
All right. The formal definition from Oxford Dictionary is prejudice or discrimination on the grounds of a person's age. And interestingly, the way that they used it in a sentence has to do with job search. Ageism in recruitment is an increasing problem. Next slide, please. So one of the reasons that we are starting with the elephant in the room is that we want you to start thinking in terms of the job search not being about you, not being about us, it's about the employer. So we want to ease you into the mindset of what an employer might be thinking. And obviously there are many employers, there's not just one, but when we look at the literature, we're going to share with you some of the most common concerns about people 45 and over. And the first one is probably not a surprise to you. There's an assumption sometimes that we'll have a poor ability to grasp technology. And I say we here because one of the credentials that Reba and I have that Caroline didn't mention is we've both changed jobs over age 45. So we've had to be very aware of these things. In talking about this presentation, we also realized that we have both experienced in different work settings being the oldest people on the staff. So we have lots of experience and fun things to share with you. But make sure that you are up to date on technology, whether that be being up to date on Microsoft Office and all the different programs that it offers, or how to do Zoom interviews. Technology does not just mean, oh, I'm on Facebook. So you want to make sure to be able to dispel this myth in some of your answers to questions and interviews. Slower performance, not keeping up the pace is sometimes a concern. A lot of this will depend on your productivity, and you'll be able to give examples of projects that you managed and how you worked well and all that you accomplished. It's really a myth that people 45 are going to be slower, but it's up to us to dispel that. This next one, inflexibility, and the bottom of this list, too set in their ways. This is kind of the same thing. There is an idea that because we are older, that perhaps we want to do things the same way, that we're going to say, no to new ways. We've always done it this way, or no to new ways because we tried that and it didn't work. Those are things that we do not want to come across as. We want to be shown that we're very progress and forward moving folks. Frequent illness is actually wrong. If you do some reading yourself, actually people 45 and older miss work less than younger folks. So Reba, I'll let you take on the next myth.
Okay. Another myth, older workers are too expensive. So sometimes employers will just assume that you wanting the same salary you had before, maybe before retirement or stepping down from a high position. That is not always the case, but it is an assumption. Sometimes I think it's easier to hire available, younger and cheaper applicants instead. Why wouldn't they do that? If they have a pool of those qualified candidates. Concerns of overqualification, that maybe they're threatened that you might know more than they do, or perhaps that you'll get bored if you feel like you're overqualified. That also leads to the next one. An applicant maybe is retired and just bored and looking for a place to hang out and make a little extra money on the side. So as we talk about some of these beliefs that employers may have, we're going to focus on ways to let them know that it's not necessarily the case of what you're seeing here on these lists that apply to you. So again, this is how we're going to be looking at working around these biases. Next slide, please. So what basic skills do employers want in 2021, Diane?
And if you'll allow me to, I want to go back just, not on the slides, but one of the points, overqualification, I think with the job seekers that I work with, that one seems to come up a fair amount. So one of the things you need to be prepared to do is to talk about, while I do have skills, many skills in this, and this, what excites me about this particular job vacancy is it gives me an opportunity to use skills that I haven't used yet. But I really urge you to kind of practice on the, well, you're a little overqualified for this job. Not necessarily. Okay. There are several different types of skills. First, obviously, you want to think about the industry specific skills, whether you're in marketing or sales or pharmacy or counseling or therapy. Your field has specific technology that is used, and you'll want to be up to date on that to be able to refer to it in your interviews and list it on your resume. Understanding of industry jargon obviously kind of goes with the first one. You want to make sure that they see you as a colleague, that you know you talk the talk. Current industry knowledge and experience is important. You don't want to, if it's looking for a job that you have not worked in that field for a little while, you want to make sure that you look at your professional associations and journals and that you are up to date on current industry knowledge, experience, and technology in the field that you are applying for.
Yeah, so when we're talking about transferable skills, a transferable skill is a skill that can go across any industry that we all use. For example, customer service, which we'll talk about. The first one on the list is team orientation. They want to know that you're able to work in a group, to be a good listener, to be a good partner, and to be supportive of other people, especially if you've been someone maybe who has been self-employed. They want to know that you're able to mesh into group thought and brainstorming and so on and so forth. Clear communication, now that can be verbal communication, that can be email communication, that can be body language and facial expression. So be sure that you are able to hear well and able to speak well. If you're struggling to hear and you might want to go have yourself checked for a hearing aid, go do that. That is a huge part of communicating. More and more people are wearing hearing aids these days, for example, so don't be embarrassed by that. It's much better that you be able to hear and than having to ask people to repeat themselves. flexibility and adaptability, of course. I know especially in higher education, there's always something new coming out of left field. Maybe it's a new computer program platform that you need to learn the software for, or it's a new approach to doing something, or there's a shakeup in the company and there's downsizing. These are all things you have experienced as well. So receive that graciously and be willing to ask for help if you need to learn something new. Ask for help. That will reflect your flexibility and your adaptability. It doesn't mean you have to do it right now. There's no rush. Learn it at your skill level and at your speed. Multi-generational connectedness. Show that you've worked with younger people, with people when you were younger, how you worked with people older than you. Culturally, let people know that you've worked internationally if possible, and not necessarily giving examples, but in your language, talk about diversity, inclusivity as much as you can. Customer service, wow, talk about a transferable skill. That goes across all industries, that you're able to step up to whomever you are serving and able to focus on them and their needs and to be there for them and give examples when you're in an interview. We'll talk about that in a minute. Give examples of how you can serve whoever your clientele is. A desire to learn. Talk about being excited to move forward and learn new things and do new things. And then likability. Likability is kind of underrated. Let me tell you, if it's down to two people who are equally qualified and they're trying to decide one way or another, gee, which one do we go to? More than likely, they're going to go to the one they want to work with 40 hours plus a week. Someone that's friendly, easy to talk to, that they're relaxed with. So be yourself. Don't be phony likable, but just smile, be friendly, be relaxed, let them see who you really are, and that will help them decide if you're a good fit or not for the position.
Reba, can I add there? Actually, about 2 or 3 years ago, we actually had a speaker in Job Club to talk about that topic alone, likability. And Tim Sanders is an author who's written Love 2.0 and a book called Likability. So if you're wondering, if you're a really technical person, you might be wondering, what in the world are they talking about? Likability sounds flaky, but it's a thing. As Reba said, they're looking to see, do we want to show up to work every day with this person? Do we want to hang out in the break room with this person? Do we want them on our softball team? As Reba said, sometimes it comes down to that when everything else is equal. Next slide, please. So we've talked about some of the challenges, and we're going to kind of move into, so now what do you do? We're going to move into more of this job search strategy tools. Some of these are quite basic, and it might be a review for you, and some might be things you haven't thought about. Next slide, please. We cannot stress this enough. We want you to keep in mind to start with a positive job search. You need that mindset. And sometimes that's hard to keep that positive attitude when you are in a job search. Job search isn't particularly fun, but it's something that we need to learn and use many times in our career life. We can't change our age, but we can change our attitudes about our age. Next slide, please. So part of that, having a positive mindset, is believing and knowing that you possess skills that younger applicants may not. You're not going to talk about it that way, but keep it in your mind so that you feel confident and positive. People 45 and over generally have a very strong work ethic. Now, I know the millennials get a bad rap, but I'm sure you've heard some of the myths about millennials, and Gen X too. Person of any age can show a strong work ethic. Time management skills are important for anybody, and generally, if for a job seeker who's had more work experience, they've learned to manage their time well. They're not wet behind the ears. That's an old-fashioned saying. Workplace problem solving is another thing that someone over 45 generally has more experience, so you'll be able to offer more examples, show them both on your resume and in your interview. Management skills, pretty hard to get those when you're under 45. So think about the times that you've managed either people or projects. Also the historical industry knowledge. Now this one's a double-edged point. And the reason I say that is if you've been in a field for decades, you don't want to scatter in your examples of old examples or old theories or old ways of doing things. It's good that you have that knowledge, you know where the industry's been, but we want you to focus more on where the industry is going, the industry that you are interested in. Historical knowledge is important, don't flaunt it too much. Older job seekers have generally developed more critical forward-thinking skills. Again, just being in the workplace demands that. Also, you've probably had opportunities to work with people of all ages. There are still 4 or 5 generations in the workplace, millennials, Gen X, boomers who cover a lot of years. Also, the silent generation, people older than boomers are still in the workplace. Any examples that you can use that you've worked with people of all ages, it's not a problem for you. You want to have that collegial attitude. And generally people over 45 have a big picture view of the world of work. One of the department heads at the University of Kentucky, when I first started my role as career management director, called me and said, Diane, I really need some help here. He said, I don't understand. I need to talk with you. And I said, what's going on? And he said, well, I have a really talented team of people. He said, the last hires have tended to be young, go-getters, lots of technical skills, but they come to me after 6 months and they wonder what's wrong with their performance because they haven't received a promotion or they haven't gotten a job title boost. So generally people 40, 45 and over know that those things don't come in the first year of employment. So that's an asset that older job seekers have. We know what's going on. Next slide, please.
So we're going to talk about a little bit how to navigate age biases through your professionalism. So you can, the slide says, you can help address and dispel employer hiring concerns through your professional branding or image. So we're going to talk about branding and image just a little bit here. Next slide, please. So there are different ways of branding yourself, physically, online. So we're going to talk about that online job search. What type of brand do you want to come across in cyberspace? How do you want people to perceive you who do not have you standing in front of them? So anything you put online is going to reflect your brand, and they're looking to see if that brand is employable or not. So always assume that employers will vet you online. 85% of employers who receive a resume and they're interested in maybe calling this person in will typically go online to see who you are, what your online brand is. If you do not have a LinkedIn account, and you probably do if you've frequented a job club a lot, there have been several presentations on this, we highly recommend that you create an account. And if you have an account, keep it updated. Don't let things get stale. It's easy to forget some of the things that you may have done in the past if you don't keep it up to date. Email. So avoid outdated email accounts that end at AOL, Yahoo, Hotmail. The current going rate right now is for Gmail. At some point that may become old fashioned, but right now, if you can get a Gmail account, that's highly recommended. Avoid posting anything on social media that might support ageism biases. So
been on that one, Reba.
it's,
Say,
yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was thinking,
I thought of you, Diane.
I was thinking about if an employer were vetting my Facebook, I would clean it up. And by clean it up, I mean, I often will post humor about growing older. I think I posted recently a picture of it was a meme, a picture of a zebra with stripes to the all the way just to the back of its body, and then it was white all the way down to its back legs and tail. And the line was something like, Ralph wasn't pleased with his hip replacement. So I would probably go through and eliminate or hide some of the funnier age jokes, because yeah, just do that. Think about it.
Definitely. I mean, if you have grandchildren, you love them, you're proud of them, you want to share them with the world. I have a new grandson myself. But if you're in the job search, maybe not, maybe not. So yeah, just be aware of the brand that you're putting out online. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about the job search documents and the brand and image there. So typically the primary documents you're going to be putting out into the world for your job search are resumes, cover letters, and thank you letters down the road after you get an interview. Not when you get, if you get an interview, but when you get an interview, you want to make sure to send a thank you letter. We'll chat about that coming up as well. Next slide, please. So Diane, you want to take resume?
Be happy to. So take an honest and hard look at your job search documents and look to see if are you advertising or promoting your age on your job search documents. Our age is not something we're embarrassed about, but we haven't got the interview yet. So we don't want to be ruled out based on those myths that we shared with you earlier. So look at your resume, and things to avoid would be your formatting. Are you using an outdated layout? Make sure if you're looking at examples, if they're in a book, check the copyright date. Don't, as we all know, anybody posting anything on the internet is automatically an expert. So you want to be careful about the advice you're looking at. When I'm at bookstores here, I have a bad or an intrusive habit when I see people gathered around the job search shelves in the bookstore. I've been known to go over and say, not that one, get this book, these authors. So an outdated layout is if you ask someone older than you, if you're basing your format on them, it may be outdated. The way that I did a resume right out of college would now be considered outdated layout. For instance, using an objective usually makes you look like an older job seeker. Rather than an objective, you might use a branding statement, which might just be the job title that you're looking for. Outdated layout is also putting all your dates on the left side of the resume. With a lot of white space around them. That was a very popular format decades ago. Think about what you want to draw attention to. Is it the dates that you did that job or you did that work, or is it the job and the company or organization itself? So I would recommend that you tuck your dates in at the end of the statements about your work in that particular job. If your resume is over 2 pages, that also is often a clue. Oh gosh, this is an older job seeker. And if they have those myths, they may not like it. You don't have to list the dates on your education and degrees. When they do their vetting, if they ask you to give them a transcript, obviously you'll do that and they will know, but you don't need to advertise it on the resume. on your work history, listing more than 10 years of work experience also is a bit of a clue. This person's been around the block too many times. And I know I've had job seeking clients who rebel at this because we're proud of that work experience. We know how much we've contributed, but you want to focus on the last 10, at the most 15 years. Probably anything that you did earlier than that, there have been so many changes in your profession. You want to focus on what you've done most recently. One exception to that, I'll just throw it out here, is if you are a career changer. And if you are going back to a career, in my case, at one point, I was a teacher. So if I were applying for a training role, I may want to put that a little higher on my resume to make sure that it gets noticed. Or I may want to put teaching experience and a list of skills towards the top of my resume. Oh gosh, what other things to avoid on a resume? Have I left anything out, Reba, that you can think of?
I just think often when you give a job description, you don't have to write a whole paragraph. You can just allude to that. If you're having a skills heading, for example, you can list a lot of those skills there. Say you have 9 skills you want to put on a resume. 3 columns of 3 in each column may be bulleted to highlight it without getting into a lot of verbal discussion about that job description, because that can eat up a lot of real estate on a resume when you're trying to keep it to 2 pages.
Absolutely. Cover letter, you're probably thinking, who writes cover letters anymore? I put together a panel of employers, of hiring officials at the university a few years ago. And I had hiring officials from science and from the IT sector and from healthcare sector and from working with students. So I had these employers. After they each had 10 or 15 minutes to talk about what they look for, the audience asked questions. And one of the questions that the audience had is, do you look at cover letters? So what do you think, as I'm standing in the back of the room looking at my panel, every answer was different. One person said, oh, I don't really look at cover letters. I get all I need to know from the resume. Other panelists looked at that person and was like, wow, I don't know that I wouldn't really hire someone or be that interested in someone who didn't write a cover letter. The cover letter shows whether or not you can write in complete sentences. Think about it. So since some employers read them and some employers don't, I would conclude always do a cover letter. It's a way to introduce yourself and perhaps stress, if you are a career changer, the cover letter is a great place to talk about why you are interested in this position. Why are you interested in moving from what you've last done to this next position? Things to avoid on your cover letter would be salutations like "Dear Sir," to whom it may concern. Those are old. Those are sort of back to my college days. So think about some job search experts would say you don't even need a salutation, that the person holding a letter knows it's a letter. I like things like "Dear Hiring Official," or "Dear Search Committee Director." If you want a salutation, just think of something a little more creative. Obviously, if you know the person who's doing the hiring, you want to use that person's name. Length, oh gosh, I got busted on this one. I was an English major. My cover letter for my last job was 2 pages. I don't recommend that. 1 page, you should be able to say what you want to say, and make sure that it's positive and illustrating why you are interested in their position. Have an employer's hat on when you write your resume and your cover letter. Think about, what do they want to know? They have to make a decision. Will this person be able to do the work? And is this person likable? And are they really interested in this job? Next slide, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something real quick about that cover letter too, is some employers have said, well, I don't look at it unless I'm down to 2 candidates and I'm not quite sure. Then I'll go look at the cover letter, and sometimes that will decide it for them. So when you're writing it, give it the time that it needs. Write your resume first. It will help you with the cover letter. But often that might be the thing that tips the scale in your favor. So again, make sure on both documents, there's no typos or anything like that. Have other people read it and give their input. Sometimes we'll see a typo mistake and the brain doesn't see it because we've seen it so many times, and someone else seeing it for the first time will catch it right away. So
Reba, that just reminded me of another thing about cover letters. Most often, job seekers will write a cover letter saying what I want. I want the opportunity to develop more skills in my career. I want the opportunity. I want to learn how to do such and so. Go back to what I said. Think about what the employer wants. So the language in your cover letter, you want to show that you're interested. No, I would welcome the opportunity to work with your team to solve the challenges that you mentioned in the job vacancy. Anytime you can think about what does the employer want, that's what you should be in your cover letter. Go through your cover letter and circle all the pronoun I's, I, and get some of those out of there. A way to avoid that is to say, in your job description, you mentioned ABC. I bring ABC through this work experience. So enough about that. We need to move fast, Reba. We've got a lot to cover.
Oh, we do. Okay, let's talk about your tone. Again, just a positive, energized tone throughout your written application documents and interviewing process. Be aware that some employers have software called ATS. It's the applicant tracking system. And if the keywords that are in the job posting are not in the resume and cover letter, that system may kick it out and human eyes never see it. So pay close attention to the job posting language. Next slide, please.
So I got an interview, now what? Next slide, please. And I think probably most of this is going to be a review for some of you, but we didn't want to overlook, for those who haven't heard this, we'll pick up our pace here a little bit. First impressions count. There is research to show that employers make up their mind whether they like a person in the first 3 to 5 minutes, not whether they'll hire that person. But when they form a positive attitude in a first impression, the research showed that the questions actually got a little easier. So think about that. You want to bring with you copies of your resume, especially if it's a search committee, because there will always be someone running late who got to that interview to interview you that doesn't have your resume. Practice your interview answers, have a firm handshake. Logistics, I'll let you just glance through those. Don't assume you know where the building is if you haven't been there yet. Maybe do a dry run. Make sure you allow driving time. Arrive 10 minutes early, but not earlier, really. I've had employers say they feel pushed and rushed if the person that they're interviewing next comes a half an hour early. So don't be late. Next slide, please. Reba, I'll let you hit this one. You're a brand lady.
Oh, yeah. So on your interview, we're just looking at the image again. When it comes to the looking at you, the minute you walk into the door, as we all will make a judgment instantly in under 3 seconds based on what you're wearing before you even open your mouth. So we want updated business apparel, shoes, your haircut, glasses, even glasses can be dated, jewelry, etc. So don't leave your what you think you're going to wear in the closet and find out the day of, the morning you're getting ready to get dressed, that it doesn't fit anymore or it's out of date. Yeah. Make sure your clothes are clean and ironed. You don't want to put that shirt on and look down and you've got a little greasy spot on the top. So this is the stuff you do the day before, right? Shoes polished, minimal accessories, no big heavy scarves around your neck or bangles and big earrings. Good posture, relaxed body language, be rested, fit, get a good night's sleep the night before. Smoke free, even don't smoke if you're a smoker before you go to this interview, especially if you're in your attire, because that smoke sticks to your clothing and your hair and your skin, and they can smell that. And you know, eat a good breakfast. You need that protein to get you through, especially if you're a little nervous. Chewing gum free, I think that should go without saying, but we say it anyway because you never know. Minimum makeup, fragrance free, no aftershave, no perfume. For some people are allergic and you don't want to smell like the person they just broke up with. Okay, so just keep it as neutral as you can, and fresh breath. So throw in a mint on your drive over. Next slide.
One of the things that it goes along with having a positive tone is just be aware of any know-it-all language or attitudes like, well, you don't want to go into the interview thinking, well, I've paid my dues, so I deserve this job, or been there, done that, or in my day, or tried that, it doesn't work. Those contribute, even if you don't say those things, if it's in your mind, that comes across in your language sometimes. So put aside the know-it-all and be the person who wants to learn and do new things. Avoid controversial topics. I think that goes without saying also. Avoid dated language and cliches. You know, talk with people younger than you and just kind of go through some of the expressions that you have that may be outdated. Next slide. Positive, energetic tone. You want to project a growth mindset. Some of that will come in the questions that you ask when you ask where the company or the organization or the department is going, what some of their goals are. Be energetic in your attitude, in your voice, in your facial expression. I've interviewed people who just kind of have a monotone and everything they say is in the same volume and in the same rate. And you use your voice as a tool. It can project energy, excitement, and that you are shaker and mover and shaker, and then communicate your interests. Next slide. Questions for the interviewer, have them. There's nothing worse than being at the end of an interview and they say, do you have any questions? And you say, no, not really. You're missing an opportunity though. Ask about, what are some of the challenges that the organization is facing that if you're lucky enough to be hired, you can contribute to the solution. Ask about what opportunities there are for training and development. That shows you want to continue learning, that you don't feel that you know it all, that you look forward to new training. You can ask what a typical day is like. Often they'll say, we never know, but that gives you a clue to what it's like to work there. And just think about their goals, ask about their goals, avoid questions about salary, vacation, retirement, health benefits, that we all want to know those things, but we don't bring those up until after you have an offer. Next slide.
Yeah, so want to make sure that you've researched the company before you interview, so you know a lot about them, and that will help you decide on what kind of questions to ask as well. So this next slide is a little gratitude goes a long way. So after the interview, always send a thank you response immediately. That response could be an email. I recommend you do that, and a handwritten note. Now you think, well, wait a minute, that sounds old school with the handwritten note. However, emails can be overlooked and deleted before the interviewer gets a chance to even see it or knows what it is. There's something about a concrete, hard copy, 3 by 5 inch note card where you've handwritten in there, thank you very much for this opportunity to interview for the position of XYZ. I especially appreciated our conversation about ABC. Maybe something that you had in common with the employer. You both like horses or basketball. It will refresh their memory. Oh, this was the person who liked the same thing I do, because employers like to hire people they know. So if they feel like they know you, even through something a hobby you have in common, it will jog their memory. These hard copies get left on desks. They go into purses. They go into bulletin boards. If I get a thank you note, I like to save them. They're nice. And it reminds me of this individual. When it comes down to two people who are qualified for the position, again, this is something that might tip it in your favor. Many people, especially the younger people applying for jobs these days under 45, are not sending thank you notes. Please do so. It makes a huge difference. If you have the handwriting of a serial killer, as they say in my favorite movie, Steel Magnolias, have someone else write it for you so that it's pleasant, it's nice to read, and it's something they want to keep. Next slide.
We're getting ready to stop so you can ask some questions, but we really want to leave you with this: trusting in yourself, do your preparation, but know you can do this. I've read that a pithy statement that age is not important unless you're wine or cheese. Now, I'm not going to say that in an interview, but think about it yourself when you're developing that positive attitude. So your attitude, your appearance, and I would say your energy level and likability, those are things that you want to focus on. And Caroline mentioned is that I was sitting in the parking lot reading, and I just read about a book that I wanted to share, and I haven't read it, but it was a wonderful article about this particular book. And the book is Life Reimagined: The Science, Art, and Opportunity of Midlife by Barbara Haggerty. And it talks about the danger of going onto autopilot in midlife. We don't want to do that. We want to be moving forward. So think about possibly checking into that book. There are so many articles online. If you just search on great jobs for people 45 and over, best employers list for people 50 and over comes out every year. There will always be a new one. But have that positive attitude that you have something to offer. You're eager to help that employer move forward and accomplish what they need to accomplish. I think we're ready for some questions.
All right, I do see a couple in the chat. And if you have a burning question, feel free to type them in the chat and we'll get to those too. All right, first one for you ladies. Noticed some people have person web-based branding pages. Any comments on that topic, like a personal web page?
Well, anything like that you can put up in the heading of your resume, like your name and your contact information, so on and so forth. Websites and anything of that nature that can reflect your professional brand, by all means, put it up there. Speaking of that, when you're doing your heading on a resume, there's no need to put a street address any longer. No one's going to mail you anything more than likely. Everything's going to be done through email, and then you'll be offered an opportunity to interview. It's also just safer, not especially for women. Don't put your street address on there. But yeah, anything else that your URL to your LinkedIn, for example, is another opportunity for them to vet you and see that if they want to interview you.
Excellent. And the next question is, I worked for the same company for 25 years. How would you recommend I limit my history just to 10? I've also found that a lot of companies require graduation dates on their online forms, if you can speak to that.
Now, if they require it, you need to do it. You don't want to come across trying to get an interview as someone who ignores directions. I hope and I think employers are starting to change in that regard. I know I lobbied for that in human resources when I was in human resources at UK. Some applications do make it harder for people to not display their age first. What was the other part of that question, Amanda? I'm sorry. I think there were two parts.
The other part of that question was about
Length of employment, right?
length of employment. Yep.
Yeah, you know, as I said, Reba and I have both changed jobs after after 50, after 55. I went my interview for the last position and I was 59 and recovering from a knee replacement. And I used humor to talk about that and talked about how it was wonderful to be pain-free, right? And I had worked prior to this position at the same employer for 25 years. And what I did was shorten that into, I put the name of the organization, the years I was there, I put the different job titles that I held with the most recent at the top. And then I summarized briefly the main skills I developed in those 25 years that matched with the job description, the job vacancy. And I cannot stress that enough. There are so many clues employers give us in the job vacancies they write. You can, if you read them really carefully, you can discern what they're looking for. So I understand the 25 years thing. Hopefully you've shown some progression in there that you can list by your job titles or your responsibility changes, but don't write a whole page about that one job.
Diane, you gave me a couple of websites whenever you came into the office. I put those into the chat. Do you want to talk about the Seniors for Hire, AARP, and encore.org?
Yeah, when we think about, you know, going to the internet, there is no lack of information about job seeking for people over 50. So you want to know your source, and one of the most reliable will be the AARP, American Association for Retirement People. How does that go? I don't have it in front of me.
Retired, I think it's retired persons.
There you go. And I was very offended when I got my first letter inviting me to join AARP. I must admit, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I tossed that aside. But they have wonderful resources for job searching for people over 50. So if you see AARP on it, I feel pretty confident in saying that is information that you can trust. The Seniors for Hire website is a little different and interesting to check out. When you first go to it, it's really geared, the first page is geared towards recruiters, okay? It's for recruiters. How do you want to hire people over 50? It's for employers who are seeking age diversity in their organizations. So that's really, I think, wonderful news for us. And then if you read further to the end of the page, first page on their website, you'll have a choice to check whether you're a recruiter or a job seeker. So then you get into the information that's more geared towards being a job seeker. That's a good one. What else? Encore is also another good one I would mention. It rises to the top. Nancy Kohler is a wonderful author to advise you about job search strategies over age 50 and the type of jobs that are available. Let's see. Those are the, Gary Foster is a good blog to look at, as is Mark Miller. But just when you're looking at resources, you know, look at who is the author, look at what organization is offering those resources, and use your critical thinking skills as you sift through it. You know, we didn't mention the, it's blinding flash of the obvious, seek the help of a career coach or career counselor. If it's been a while since you interviewed, you would probably benefit greatly from practicing with a career coach and having someone look at your resume.
All right, I think that's the end of the questions in the chat. I would love for us to fill that chat box up with gratitude for Reba and Diane. Thank you, ladies, so much for taking
Awesome.
time and sharing your words of wisdom with our group. Many thanks.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're getting lots of love in the chat there. All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward the next step in our program, which is job leads. Active job leads are such an important component of the Job Club group. Feel free to share active job leads in the chat box here. If you are an employer and you would like to be promoted up to panelist so you can share an active job lead with your organization, we're happy to give you a 1-minute spotlight. If you do that, please use the raise hand feature now, and I'll watch for that in the next minute or so. If you have if you have job leads, please email them to us by noon today, UK Alumni Career at uky.edu, and we'll include them in our post-meeting job lead list. Watch for our email from Suzanne Smith at Extension. She works so hard to compile so many job leads that come in between job club meetings, and that list is pretty extensive each time. Let me check for any hands up over here. I'm not seeing any hands up. So I'm going to keep moving through slides here. Next up, just a few quick updates from our Job Club facilitators. Quick update from UK Steps. Nicole Waits on vacation this week, so I'm happy to cover her update. Queen just popped the link into the chat. If you're looking to get on with the University of Kentucky, the STEPS website is really a place that you need to be visiting. STEPS temporary employment is a great way to start with the university, and they have a whole slew of opportunities right now, lots of opportunity on their website. And so watch for those in the Active Job Lead newsletter later today as well. UK Alumni Career Services, we're always taking individual clients, and there was lots of chat in the discussion in the chat about where to go for help with resume writing, getting a resume review, or working on your LinkedIn profile. That's what we do. Alumni Career Services, me and Caroline Francis and Queen Sullivan, we're here to support you in those. And Caroline has a pretty new credential. It's a certified professional retirement coach. And so if you're in need of retirement-based career planning, if you're approaching retirement and thinking about what that time will look like, know that that service is also available with UK Alumni Career Services. You can learn more at ukalumni.net/career. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Diana for an update from Extension.
Thanks, Amanda. And I just want to remind all of our attendees that it would be to your benefit to check out your local cooperative extension office through the University of Kentucky in each and every 120 counties and in states throughout the United States as well. There's so much programming that's being restored since the pandemic, and you're going to find some really, really great fall programs that are being announced currently. So check out Fayette County Extensions as well. We are doing many of our programs hybrid now, so that we'll have an online opportunity as well as in person. So that's a benefit to I guess what the pandemic delivered to us. I have put in the chat box a food preservation opportunity. We have 3 workshops. So if you're interested, they're basic, but there are a lot of do's and don'ts in home food preservation. So I'd love for you to join me. And these are in person at the Fayette County Extension Office, and the information to register is in the chat box. And now we'd like to reveal our next time at Job Club. And this will be on August the 10th. And it's entitled Be Your Own Boss. Tanya Parsons from the Lexington Center, director from Kentucky SBDC. She's a small business development center. And Amanda Barrett is the president and CEO of FranNet of Kentucky. These two are going to co-present, and this is going to be another great presentation you won't want to miss. So make sure that you are registered for the August 10th session of Job Club, Be Your Own Boss. The registration information is on the slide, and it will be also in that newsletter that you'll receive this afternoon. And again, I hope you took the opportunity. Do so now with the QR code that's on the screen. We want you to If you're a first timer, take our survey so that you can get all the great information and advance notice of all of our programming. Thanks again for coming. Thanks again to our presenters. So much information, and if you are in that age group, I know you've benefited directly. So we are so appreciative to Diane and Reba, and I'm sure you'll see them again in future Job Club presentations. Join us next time, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Job Club.